In this powerful episode of Brooklyn Savvy, we'll spotlight the experiences, innovations, and challenges faced by Black women in artificial intelligence. Visionary leaders Toni and Mutale Nkonde join us to explore how Black women are redefining technology and using AI to tackle critical societal issues. We examine how to amplify our voices in tech, foster diversity, and advocate for equitable AI practices. Through our stories of resilience and innovation, we celebrate how Black women are driving economic empowerment, advancing equity, and shaping a more inclusive future with AI. I wanted to create a safe space to have uncomfortable yet transformative conversations that move people, amplifying the voices of those who are underrepresented and who inspire positive change. I'm Toni Williams, and this is Brooklyn Savvy. Welcome to Brooklyn Savvy. Now, we're going to be talking about AI, and I have to just really confess, I use it a lot, but I don't understand what's behind it. So that's what we'll be talking about today and how it's impacting us sisters right here on this Savvy couch right now. So why don't I start with you? Now, when I look at you, Toni, I do not see tech, okay? I see art, right? You said that's good.
Yeah.
Right. So talk to us about your journey with tech, and how it's, and what you're doing in that space, in the tech space.
So it's so funny that you said that, because right before we came on, I was thinking one thing I really want to say is that I want people to look at me and feel like there's a space for them in tech. Because of exactly what you said.
Yeah,
see?
Right.
And so I'm a creative, I am, right? I always have been. I'm a director, so I've been directing national commercials and content for like Pantene, Clinique, AOL, Nissan for like years. I got into technology. I've always wanted to be in it, but I went to school already for film and English. I can't go back to school.
Right.
But then during the pandemic, I wound up getting on this app called Clubhouse and met a ton of like VCs and tech folk. A lot of Silicon Valley folks, and I got really close with a bunch of people from a VC firm called A16Z. They kind of like ushered me into tech and taught me everything, first with Web3, which is blockchain, and then there was a progression into AI because blockchain, there was a bear market, so people were kind of like crypto.
Talk to us about
popping.
blockchain for those in our viewing audience that might not know or have forgotten.
So blockchain is just like on the blockchain. It's crypto basically,
okay.
Right? It's kind of used interchangeably, Web3, crypto, and blockchain. So I got really involved in that space, and then, like I said, I made the evolution into AI.
Now,
and
is NFT in there somewhere?
Yes, NFT, non-fungible token.
Okay.
That runs
right.
on the blockchain.
Okay.
It's like verified on blockchain. Because I'm a creative, I went to film school. I was asked by Columbia University and School of Visual Arts and Parsons School of Design to come and lecture to the grad students and undergrad students about emerging technology. So I just got really deep into it, started speaking all over the world about technology from a creative perspective and the future of creativity. And now I have my own AI-powered app that I'm building.
So in terms of talking about it as a creative, give us a glimpse on what that looks like, what that meant.
Especially right now, I think AI is really intimidating for a lot of creatives. They feel like it's going to take their jobs and their place in society. And that's part of the reason why I started to build this app, because I remember one of the classes I was teaching at Columbia, the students looked so despondent when I started to talk about AI. It was like they saw their life flashing up ahead of them. And I can imagine spending like over $100,000 on this degree, and now you're being told that it's going to be obsolete. And I try to encourage them. And sometimes creatives get mad at me. I'm like, I'm one of you. I just thought to myself, what do I want the future to look like? And I'm not going to wait for someone to give me permission to get in the conversation. I'm just going to get in the conversation.
I like that. I like that. This quote that, not waiting for permission.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I'm not the most technical. I don't use jargon when I speak and when I teach, because I feel like that creates a barrier to entry. I like to use slang or like layman's terms so that people can understand what I'm saying, because I want them, like I said, to look at me and see that there's a space for them in tech. So that's pretty much my journey.
Well, excellent. Now, Mutale, you have an organization called AI for the People.
Yes.
Now talk to us about that, because you're techish.
Yes.
But you had a sociology background. Talk to us about your background, just as Toni just did.
So I'm similar but dissimilar to Toni in the sense that the first time I sent an email, I was in my final year of college. So I'm not coming from a generation of people that are tech natives or even would be deeply immersed into technology. But one of the things that happened through my career path is I started out as a TV producer. Around 2008, when the market was crashing, was afforded the opportunity to work on President Obama's campaign and ended up in their Twitter camp, in their kind of Twitter team. And what that did for me was really give me exposure to not just advancing technology, but social media while it was in beta. So if we think back to 2008, we were not tweeting. I mean, many of us are not anymore for very different reasons, but it got me behind the screen, as it were. And it made me really understand from a communications point of view, how does something that you put into your phone get out to the audience? That led into a job at Black Girls Code, that led into a job at Google.
Right.
And while I was at Google, company-wide email, do you want to come and learn about an emerging field? That turned out to be AI. I did not know what I was going to. And as I was going into those meetings and getting into those product meetings, I did work on product and I did work on workflows. Even though I wasn't working as a computer scientist, I was working as a social scientist. So coming up to just over a decade, started to look at the outputs of what would become AI machines. But the big turning point for me was a friend of mine at a different tech company testing what was Google Picture, which was the precursor to Google Images. And there was a picture of him and his friend, both African American, and they were labeled as gorillas.
Ooh.
And when that labeling took place, because I was already working on product workflows, that had gone through at least 5 to 10 checks of human oversight. And at each check, this idea that Black people were gorillas had gone through. And so it was kind of the best of times, but the worst of times, because what that then gave me was a research brief. And so I ended up leaving big tech, and I went to Harvard, and I worked at a lab in Harvard for a couple of years that was looking at labeling and kind of first generation AI technology and automated decision making. Ended up in a lab at Stanford, continuing my research. And AI for the People came about because in about 2019, I published a paper with 2 colleagues called Advancing Racial Literacy in Tech. And that was picked up by the MacArthur Foundation and the 4 foundations. And they came to me and said, would you be interested in creating an organization around this? And I said, I would only do this if I could conduct research and engage in policy decisions where AI systems would work for the good of people. And they were like, well, what are you going to call it? And I just said AI for the People. And it's taken a life of its own. So we're 5 years old now.
Well, boy, talk about manifesting. Now, you talked about this idea around policymaking. Share with us the work that you did with Kamala Harris, I believe, and Biden before today.
Yes, our mission was that we were really interested in this idea of algorithmic bias. Very famous examples, facial recognition, which is a biometric technology. Those technologies do not recognize dark skin typically. And again, as a product developer, I understand that the people that those machines are tested on are most likely going to be white people. So when they come up to somebody who looks like me, there is going to be a high misidentification rate. That wouldn't matter if police forces, the NYPD included, didn't use this to identify criminals. It was this idea of algorithmic bias, whether we're speaking about mortgage instruments, social media. There's a really famous paper that came out in 2021 called Annotators with Attitude. And it found that when people use African American vernacular on social media, they're more likely to be flagged for hate speech versus standard English. And so we had really gone deep into this idea that machines could be racist. and had started out actually with,
Machines can be racist,
which is true, the
Right,
science,
yeah, right,
the
because
science is there.
because we create them, right?
We
yeah.
create them and
Right.
we embed our values into them. And so the policy work really started out with Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. She introduced the Algorithmic Accountability Act, which it was really interesting because it was a Trump White House, it was a McConnell Senate, and it was a Ryan House, and we still managed to make incredible traction. So the moment that we're in is, like, we're not new to this, we're true to this, we know how we can navigate these guys. But what ended up happening was, over time, that work then led to me working with the UN and working with the General's Office as an American representative to talk about the work that we were doing in the US. It then led to us working with the World Bank and looking at really the financial picture of technology and who were going to be the thinkers in this space. And prior to this administration, my argument was, if we want to win the technical race and if we want to win the money race, because the two are together, we need to draw from the complete talent pool. So this idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion should just mean
More
money,
money,
and money.
right.
If you want
Yes.
to be
Yes.
competitive,
More money.
you are going to draw from the complete talent pool. And then eventually, it was through this international work that we were doing that the Biden-Harris administration invited us in. At that point, we had been working with VCs, and we had also done a lot of work with private offices. So these were groups of families that had typically a net worth of around $100 million or more, and they were really interested in the work that we were doing in responsible AI and ethical AI. And the Biden-Harris team reached out. They eventually, an executive order on responsible AI was written. We were very honored to contribute to that, not just us, it was a broad coalition. We have been doing that work since, and now we do shareholder activism work in AI.
So I just have a question just to understand this a little bit and how you combat racist algorithms, let's put it that way. Is it more about like the modeling and expanding it so that it's more inclusive? Like, what are some of the things that you do to combat that?
There's a number of different things. We are, and Congresswoman Clarke would be behind this as well, we are really interested in at the testing and evaluation stage. So when you're developing an AI model, you go through about 10 stages of development. At that stage, if we could understand what those models actually do and how they impact groups differently, and thinking about this holistically, because as we think about even the development of AI, the amount of water and electricity it takes just to cool and heat the models, that's an environmental impact, which is usually usually Black and brown communities are the ones that, so I'm not just speaking about what the technology does, but the holistic view. If those models break existing civil rights law, which I have to just point out is standing law. An executive order is merely a suggestion. It doesn't override law, it doesn't override the Constitution. Then there is a legal claim that that model shouldn't be released. That's one way. Another way is you could potentially expand the data set, and just for viewers, any system that we use uses information from the past to inform the model. The problem with using information from the past is that you are using information from a racist, sexist, ableist past, which is grounded in the English language. And if you're going to scale a product, then you can't just have one language, ways of understanding the world. So you could expand it, but we can't change the past. And then I think the third way of making it less racist is just having different people in design teams who ask different questions, who are both technical and non-technical. And I'm biased as a social scientist.
Right, because you're non-technical.
I would be
non-technical.
I would be considered on the non-technical team because I don't have a computer science
But
degree.
you sound technical.
You sound very
Doesn't
technical.
are you really?
But
you
But
just
you
have
just
that.
know it,
Yeah, she
yeah.
just knows it.
But
Right.
I'm also non-technical for tech. So,
okay,
right.
you know, I'm not
Yeah.
non-technical
Right.
for non-tech. But I would say the reason I sound so technical is that I'm building off 15 years of working in this field in labs. And I'm now in a PhD program, and I'm looking at large language models, and I understand how to manipulate and build them, because this is apprenticeship. I think people think that you have to be this magic brainiac fairy to do this work, and it's like, no, if you spend enough time in the lab and you are a reasonably intelligent person, because people like Mark Zuckerberg, they don't code, they don't know anything, they're just rich.
Right.
If you are
Elon is not technical.
no,
Zuck's not
none
technical.
of
They
them
couldn't
are.
co-
I meet all of these founders of companies. What they'll tell you is, I had money to get in the game. I hired somebody to develop the product.
As a user, right, of AI, and I've been a user of AI for several decades, and you know my background, the bulk of my career was on Wall Street. So all of these models of AI and the data that goes in is making determinations on our economy, what people have access to, what type of loans they're able to get, what type of education that they're able to have. So all of these things are very ingrained in the utilization of technology. In the work that I'm doing now, we look at AI to be able to expand efficiencies, right, and look at models so that we can get to those communities. But it's the controlling of that data that is important in that work.
This idea that AI models expand efficiency hasn't been proven yet, because one of the things that you'll find from a developer perspective is these AI models are what we call minimum viable product, which means that we put them out to market. We hope that somebody like you...
Oh, I'm not purchasing it. I'm developing my own.
I'm going to speak from a FANG company perspective.
Okay.
And I'm speaking specifically for big commercial models. So
Okay.
OpenAI, DeepSea, this Chinese model,
That's the brand new one that costs
brand new
$5
one.
million to deploy, so to
Listen,
speak.
the
$5
girl-
million.
Their chips are more effective than NVIDIA, so it's causing a lot of panic in the market.
The girls
Today,
are...
yes,
So
right.
yeah.
Go.
The market's gone down.
And they
here
don't
in
need
Europe.
internet to run. This
Right.
is a little bit more interesting to
Yeah,
me.
right.
just
They're all in
because-
panic mode right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's
because
energy efficient. And the thing that's so interesting about the DeepSea model is we're in a moment where we're banning DEI, we're stopping immigration, when we actually need these HB1 people coming in from other countries with the
To
technical
inform us who have the
expertise.
backgrounds, right?
And I'm thinking about this World Bank project that we're on now. The real conversation that's going on outside is who is going to dominate this field and who is going to bank that next $1 trillion. And to the point that Toni made, we are deeply invested in all the major companies that develop AI as a nonprofit. And one of the reasons that we're deeply invested is that we go into boardrooms and demand responsible approaches, demand that bias is out of these systems. But we're also making a lot of money. And what this Chinese model is potentially doing could, if our leadership doesn't really get their eyes back on the prize, deeply tank our economy.
I want to push back on a couple of things, if that's okay. I don't know that our eye isn't on the prize. It's just that I believe that AI is very accessible. It's still pretty new. So like you said, you're building a product, I'm building a product. And when we talk about barriers to entry right now, I just feel like it's early and no one can really stop you, from kind of, because I now have access to developers in India, Canada, all over the place. I think that our eye is on the prize, but we are just so focused on the way we do things.
Right.
And because they're attacking diversity, they're not even thinking about bringing in people from other countries that are like, hey guys, we might not need all of this energy. And then you have the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America. So there's other countries that are coming together and having conversations. And even in Europe, in the film space, I collaborate with Cannes Film Festival as well. And how the European filmmakers are coming together, figuring AI out. I feel like our approach here is kind of like fear and panic.
Right, which is
and
the worst place
gatekeeping.
to be. Right, and gatekeeping,
And I think it's just having, not really embracing the diversity of the world is really what's going to keep us behind. Because everyone wants to be a know-it-all and they don't want to listen. And when you listen, you learn.
I would definitely agree with you, even on my own journey, because when it came to kind of the next step in my research journey, and I chose specifically to study in the UK just because I don't want to get caught up in culture wars. I want to know what the next generation models are. I want to work with quantum and develop out those workflows, because I know that if I can, I was ahead with AI. Like, nobody was talking about this until 2 years ago. I was already 12 years in, right? So to get in front of quantum and the other emerging technologies, we can't do it here because people here are so caught up on culture wars.
Are you seeing Black and brown people in tech doing this work, embracing it, or just users of it?
Can I be honest? Like,
Please,
how
I
real
want
can
you
I
to.
keep it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I might get in trouble. Maybe a couple years ago, I saw a lot more people of color in the room. Not everyone is ready, but that's for anyone. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone has to
everybody's
start
ready.
somewhere.
Right.
But I think sometimes what I was seeing was, I don't want to say it. I don't want to get in trouble. But I did see a lot of a lot more posting than working.
That's okay. So you're saying among black and brown people,
From what I was seeing, a lot
more posting than using.
So like if I'm going to conferences, like there was a smaller amount of people at the hackathons than at the events. I just want to be honest, because I think that when you talk about keeping our eye on the prize, right? I think for our culture, there are barriers to entry, but there's not. I'm delusional. Like, I just believe that I'm going to get whatever I want. And, you know, there's going to be roadblocks and there's going to be people trying to steal my ideas. Yeah. But it's like you have to keep going. Okay, I'm getting this experience over and over again from people here in this country. So like I said, I'm reaching out to people in Canada, in Korea, in Europe, you know, and I think that we don't have to be so stuck to like just us. You learn from other people, from other cultures, other races, other age groups. You know, you could be new and still get in the door. Just go to conferences and speak to people. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. I do it all the time. I'm like a kind of a stalker, like in a good way. But
but reach out to people on LinkedIn.
I've spoken at CES. I've spoken at a lot of big conferences, and they want us in the room. And I just feel like we have to be more comfortable, you know, like holding hands and like.
But is that the barrier of us just getting past, I guess, the fear?
Yeah, it is. Or feeling like you
Or
don't
not
belong.
knowing,
Yeah.
like you're not up to it.
Or you feel like you don't have the language, the jargon, you don't feel smart enough. You know, I think that is one of the biggest issues that I've seen. So that's why I say when your first question to me was like, I look like an artist, and I do, and I am. But I might not know the perfect way to say things, but I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna go learn.
Exactly.
And AI helps me.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Right.
I mean, you do have to, sometimes it's wrong and you do have to like verify the information that it gets you. So that's why I kind of use Claude sometimes.
Listening to both of you, and I see you as someone that I can understand because you're in this space and you're using that language, and I need to just get in. How do you work with folks like me and others,
And
you
me.
know? Yeah, right.
Well-
We're users, and we've been in corporate America. We use what we need, and we just kept moving. But now I really want to understand this.
So that's why I said before, I don't like to use jargon. So we talk about large language models and stuff. It's pretty much all the same thing. That language creates barriers to entry. To me, sometimes it feels intentional because it helps to keep people out, because it gets to say like, I'm smarter than you,
arena
I
kind
know
of
more
has
than
that.
you.
They have
And
that. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what keeps people intimidated and out. We have but so much control because we give up so much when we're signing terms and conditions over to all these companies and different social media platforms. So it's like, I've never really worked in a corporate environment, so I can't speak too much to that. But I do think that you have to be courageous enough to like not take it to a point of paranoia, because in like China, they don't really have much privacy, but they're getting things done. I think sometimes we can be overprotective to the point of paranoia, and that can paralyze us to the point where we're not making progress.
Yeah. I see both sides, actually, because working for a utility corporation, there's a certain level of diligence that you must exercise because of the impact and the severity of the type of commodities that we provide to our customers. So we don't want to be so overly aggressive with AI because of the impact that it could have on communities. But yet, even in utility industries, there are opportunities where we can explore and maybe have a more entrepreneurial spirit, as what you're describing.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Toni, in terms of some of the work that we're doing at LIST, we're looking at it from a perspective of what has the data that has gone into certain algorithm models that have kept these people out of having access to capital, access to housing, access to mortgages. And we're working with a small entrepreneurial developer of color to come up with this particular model so that we can infuse this capital all across the state of New York with layering over different demographic statistics, but not understanding and building weights, because I'm a quantitative person.
Yes.
So bringing the quantitative weights that look at what the historical systemic racism has been in these particular communities, and how do we address them in terms of bringing that capital and support to the communities that we serve.
I think that is a great place to end it.
Okay.
We're going to wrap, but I like let success. What was that? Let success make the noise.
Yeah.
That's really good. But anyway, this was a very robust discussion,
Yeah,
ladies.
it was
Very
spicy.
robust. Thank you so much, Toni, for joining us and informing this discussion. And thank you, Mutale.
So good to see
This
you.
was quite a great little balance that I had here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And we will see you next time on Brooklyn Savvy.